America's game. Now, stop humming this here, everything done changed. That warp tool made you open your brain. Eric Vanek is here, so remember the name. Hey, he got the waiver wire for the week. Tell you who to start and who to give a seat. Dropping the podcast every week. You know the knowledge is elite. After the show, we gon' hold a Lombardi. Celebrating like we throwing a party. This the blueprint and I know they gon' copy. Harmon intros always go the hardest, cause this is America's game.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to America's Game, episode number 19. I am your host, Eric Vanek. You can follow me on Twitter at Eric Vanek NFL. Follow the show at America's Game Pod as well. And this time, I am joined by the tag team, the New Age Outlaws, the Steiner Brothers, Hall and Nash, Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, Adam and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Those are pretty good tag teams right there.
The Dynasty tag teams of the world, man. Let's go.
Hell yeah. What's going on, guys?
Not much, man. I'm ready to do America's Game. Mike and I, we tagged each other in at the same time. I don't know if that's legal, but we did it.
Yeah, I'm recovering. It's been a rough day for me. Real tough. I had a 3-hour nap.
That's real tough, buddy.
Thanks to Wayne. I took today off. All right, so I took today off because my wife is out of town. She needs somebody to take the kid to school, right? So last night, I picked the kid up from dance, come home, she eats dinner, and I go, hey, do you even want to go to school tomorrow? She goes, nah. I said, don't worry, I got you. I'm a parent. I can just call in. You won't have to go. You can just hang out at home. She goes, all right. I said, we'll stay up late. We'll sleep in tomorrow. It'll be a great day. So we both stayed up late. I put her to bed. I go to bed. This morning at 5:15, she's in my room. Dad, I want to go to school. Too late. I already called you out. Go back to bed. We're done. Like 30 minutes later, I wake up again. She's in there with an iPad, and it's got my wife's face on it. She had called my wife from her iPad. She goes, why is Braylon not going to school? Why is she crying? And I'm like, you son of a bitch. You fucking sold me out. Sold me down the river. We were set up for a great day. So I had to wake my ass up to get her to school, and then I came back, and I fucked around the house for a little bit, and I was like, I'm just going to lay down and take a nap. I don't have to meet up with Adam till 1 o'clock my time, and next thing I know, I look at my phone, and I got a missed message from fucking Adam. It's 1:45, and I'm like, damn, I slept like a rock. Nap out the ass. So, yeah, that's been my day, Eric. It's been rough.
And the daughter's walking home from school.
She should. She should. How dare
6 mile walk, you're walking home, damn it.
Never again. I mean, what kind of 7-year-old wants to go to school and then cries because they can't go? Oh.
Your kid too,
This generation, man. This is the price I pay for being married to a teacher. This is what I do.
Yeah,
she's indoctrinated.
See,
she's not like us when we were kids, man. Like a free day away from school. I don't care what age I was. See ya.
This is one of those things I can learn through Mike. My wife's a teacher, and Aubrey, as she gets older, I just know that if you offer something like this, you may have to be ready to flip flop on it. And she at least should have to, at a minimum, learn from way back in the day. People talk about walking both ways to school. We should at least today let her earn the way home. You can walk. No bus today.
Good luck to you.
Only problem is it's not the old days, and she'll hit that iPad again, buddy. So I just make sure you get. I just make sure you get her home.
Not risking that at all.
Yeah, that would be rough for sure. Jeez. Oh man. All right. How was your guys' week 13? Week 14's coming up here. 1 week before the playoffs. Are you guys sitting pretty in most of your leagues? Are you guys biting your nails? How's it going?
Not doing too bad. I know Monday night, the Trevor Lawrence injury, I had a trade deadline in one league that I have Trevor Lawrence, so mad scramble to make a trade before the playoffs to get rid of T-Law to get a quarterback back, and that wasn't fun. So you never like to see injuries, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. I did have two completely undefeated, untouched teams, even against the median, right? So going in, they were 24-0. One of them did take one L, right? So unfortunately, that one's 25-1. But I still do have one, Eric. I got one hopeful, hasn't been touched yet. Not a scratch on it. Now, we're entering the time of season where I can't afford any scratches on that. So I'll see everybody in week 16 with that one, and hopefully we can keep that momentum going, huh?
Well, that's what I was going to – that's either, Mike, you either have the 72 Dolphins at this point, right? You are you go down in infamy, or you go down as one of those teams that no one remembers at all because they lost when it was most meaningful. So they didn't go undefeated. Yeah. So I would say I have most of the teams at this point that I've like decidedly directed to contending. Like they're all in positions that I want them to be. I have a couple that we have some 4D chess, I guess, to play a little bit, right? Because I have like one contender in particular I can think of in best ball. I have, I have Lawrence thing to deal with. I still have Andrews that I haven't been able to move because, people are basically cucking me. So I really would like to, in the next week, and I don't have a week actually, till before the games are over at the end of this week, make a wish and make those two guys move. So I have a couple like things like that to clean up, just tidy up, but overall, I have teams that I think are pretty good position. I just think right now it'll be interesting with this episode. It's perfect time to talk about how you can plan all the things you want, man. The variance is coming for us, and the injuries that we have now, and to keep in mind how that can absolutely derail you going into the playoffs or in the playoffs.
Yeah, I got just so people know, man. I just had to look at it too because I didn't know what the numbers were. I got 23 Dynasty teams going into the playoffs in various forms. Some sneaking in under the wire. Some heavy favorites, and 2 redraft teams going to the playoffs. So we'll see how it plays out. So far, this year's actually been pretty good. Week 13 wasn't too detrimental for us, hopefully. Hopefully for our playoff chances. So it's probably the most contending teams I think I've ever had trying to manage.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say most of my teams have done pretty good so far. I'm looking at my FFPC ones right now. I did like 13 of their $35 leagues, and I'm going to make the playoffs in 11 of them of the 13, so that's nice. Home leagues, I should make the playoffs in 2 out of 3. The third one is up in the air this week. Trying to think of like my MFL ones. I don't know on those, but I overall pretty decent year so far. Hoping to sneak a couple in. I got definitely a few that are already in. One this week I was uncertain about because I had like everybody on bye. Lamar was on bye. My backup quarterback was Aiden O'Connell because Kirk Cousins got hurt. He was on bye, so I had to do it with like Joe Flacco and Jake Browning. No, actually I only had Jake Browning on that team. And my opponent somehow had Terry McLaurin, who got like a 0, Tank Dell, who got hurt with a 0, and he had another guy who got a 0 too. And he was projected to kill me, and I ended up winning somehow by like 5 points. So I overtook him in our division, and I got the 2 seed bye because of that. So I got really, really lucky in that league this week.
Nice. How are your best ball teams, your best ball Mania 4 teams? How many entries did you have of those?
I had like 6 or 7. They weren't doing very good. So I had one that was in the money. I think I was like in second place now, so I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it again. But yeah, I didn't do very good in those this year. That's for sure.
Hey, I got 3 currently advancing, and maybe I'll get a 4th in week 14, which would be nice because at least it gives you the opportunity, right, to play for the big bucks, and we'll see how that goes.
Right. Yeah, I definitely didn't do very good in those this year. Definitely a learning lesson for next year. And like the wide receivers in those drafts just went crazy. It's like the first like 9 picks were like receivers. It seemed like.
Well, all those teams that I have that are doing well in Best Ball Mania are Tua stacks with Tyreek, and they usually have Achan.
Yeah,
some play at the running back. I took him, so that was probably my most beneficial, Dolphin stack.
That'll definitely help. Hey, Adam, how about that team I drafted for you? That one's doing great, huh?
Yeah. So that one's amazing.
Burrow, Watson, Jimmy G were your 3 quarterbacks.
So this is a league. It's a home league I have, and it used to be a keeper league. And Mike, I'll just put it like this: everyone listening to it was a league that the keeper format it was exploitable to a degree, right? Because it just is. You can you can get around things that is not full Dynasty. And eventually people were wanting to get rid of that. And to me, that was the perfect time to push it to Dynasty. And most people did not want to do that in that league. So they pushed it to redraft, which now it's not, I still like the guys in the league. And I don't focus on redraft. I don't care about it as much as Dynasty. So it's not one of my like primary focus leagues anymore. But I at the time we had recordings to do, so I was like, Eric, man, I'm in a pinch. Can you draft the team? He's like, oh yeah, I got you. Let's say less. Man, he drafted this team. I'm like, dude, we got so lucky. Like, because I remember it's a very quarterback driven league. Yep. It's a point PPR league, so it's almost standard. It's like very quarterback scoring, 5-point passing touchdown, Superflex, shallow starters. So we get Burrow, and then we get on the turn Watson. I'm like.
Yeah, and we were picking in the middle. We were like 105, 106 or something.
I'm like, no way. You pulled it off. You son of a bitch. How'd you do this? You know? he's checking in with me, and we're just like, we're kind of laughing like, oh, man, we love this team. It's funny. I was actually talking about this. Mike and I just recorded Canton Bound, and I told him, I said, in a redraft league, I had to play Tim Boyle this week. And I now have to figure out my only quarterback in that league again. And that was how that team's doing. So it's got 4 wins. They were pretty early in the year, and it's been pretty rough since.
Yeah, you might as well just start Boyle again and not worry about it because he ain't going anywhere.
He's currently a free agent, says Sleeper. So yeah, so that one did not do as well. I actually just had to count. I'm in 12 playoffs right now in my dynasty leagues. The interesting part is I'm only right now, like I had a lot of teams that started really well. I still like all of them, but I'm only actually in one guaranteed bye where I thought I was going to have more like 5. I have some that are kind of on the fence of 3. It'll be a 3 seed or 2 seed. One of these leagues I just pulled up, South Harmon Dynasty Degenerates. I made this league, it's kind of a debauchery type league. It's 16 starters, best ball. It's absolutely nuts. Like I still really like my team and chances in this league, but the crazy part is this, guys. It's 21-5 with median scoring. I am the 6th seed.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How nuts is this? 23-3, 23-3, 23-3, and then 2 teams that are 21-5 that are ahead of me. One team's ahead of me by 9 points. The other one's ahead of me by like 100. So
how about those teams at the bottom, man?
Oh,
one
yeah.
Of those 1 in 25 teams.
Mike decided to get out of the middle. He's the 1 in 25 with business is booming, Mr. Wonderful. So it's this is its inaugural year. So at least we did things the right way. But man, it's convoluted at the top, buddy. Crazy.
I was gonna ask, would you guys do a league with you, Adam and Mike, and Jag was like the other 10 participants?
No. We just got a lot of people here at South Harmon that really take that either compete or get your ass to the bottom. And they take it serious. So
yeah, very serious.
As Adam's struggling at the top, right, to compete, I'm struggling at the bottom to maintain one of those top 3 draft positions. But we locked it up. We're locked in. We're either the 101 or 102. How this shakes out. So that's
nice.
good.
Well, I will say. Let me just say it this way too. One of the things I've been struggling with in this league. So it's a 2 quarterback league. Start 16. So in this league specifically, I think this will be a good segue to the players we're going to talk about in injuries.
Yep.
A quarterback 2. If you just were to look at Warp and think about the format, like there's so many skill players that the quarterback scoring, if you're not in like the high end elite range, like I just kind of don't care, right? I just need a body, frankly, guys. It actually has to be a second quarterback. So right now, like I have Tua, which I love, and then I have Ritter, which I hate, but honestly, I just need a body in that spot.
Right.
I got Mitch Trubisky, who I probably should have cut, but haven't, and now all of a sudden he's going to play. So that was kind of found money, but I don't even know how. Like, do we have a defined timeline on Kenny Pickett's actual length of miss?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna see him again this year, buddy.
Okay, so if that's the case, I got a found third quarterback, which is extremely rare and awesome for this format. The reason I wanted to ask that is because I think this is good for everyone else to listen to and think about too. Your contending teams going in, stay on the waiver wire, make trades. This is a no trade deadline, so I don't have to worry about it. But if you have a trade deadline, you want to make sure that you patch up that position, especially as best you can, or even have plan B, like Mike and I talked about on another show, where get us some extra fab to be able to go get the backup if you don't want to roster them in a lineup league, right? Make sure that you have a contingency plan for, worst case scenarios for quarterbacks going into the playoffs, because we saw Trevor Lawrence go down. We've seen a ton of injuries at that position.
Right. I like picking up Flacco for the rest of the year. I think Flacco's going to be somebody that could help, at least in those positions. Like, he's better than Desmond Ritter. He's better than whatever Jets quarterback. He's better than Trubisky. I think, Flacco can go out there and get you a solid 250 and maybe 2 touchdowns, one or 2 touchdowns every week. So if I can buy a guy, that'd be Flacco right now for me. Those, lower tier guys.
Yeah, cheap one. I like it too.
It's funny you were talking about that too, and like your struggles. And I already locked up the 101 or 102 pick, and I'm out here spending $500 of fab on CJ Beathard just to fuck anybody who still needs a quarterback.
I saw that. Yeah.
What a dick.
Can I tell you what the best part is? Like, now everybody knows what the tax is for CJ Beathard, so
yeah,
it'll be nice to get that going ahead of time. I want everyone else, at least that's in a really screw position, to go ahead and chase that. Yeah, go chase that out.
Right.
I got my lucky Mitch Trubisky for now.
Nice. All right, so this week we're going to talk a bit about the injuries that happened this week, since there was about 17,000 of them. So we're going to kind of break through some of the injuries here, talk about them, what we're going to do with these guys for the rest of the year, maybe their backups, if we value them at all, whatnot. So first one, we'll start with the quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence, that Adam mentioned a little bit ago. High ankle sprain. I'm betting he misses. It's usually, 3 to 4 weeks, so I'm guessing he misses about that much. CJ Beathard's going to start this week against the Browns. Not a great matchup for him. Plus, Christian Kirk is out probably the rest of the year, too. What are you guys doing with Trevor Lawrence? Obviously, you don't want to just sell him for cheap. Still, a top 10 quarterback in Dynasty. Are you looking to maybe tear down from him to go get like a Jared Goff type? Would you be okay with that? Maybe get a little plus on top of it, something like that.
So I've had to make 2 decisions. I got a lot of Trevor Lawrence too on contending teams.
Same.
Some of them we were talking about on 4D when we recorded that last night. Like I get the luxury of being the 1 seed and not really having to make a decision on them until week 16. So I got the next couple weeks to see and kind of wait it out and see what happens. If I'm a team that's going to be playing, I need to get in this week. I need to get in next. I need to win next week because I'm playing in the first round. Your timeline's kind of up. Or if you got a trade deadline that's coming up, some of these leagues play with trade deadlines this week. I had some that were last week, so I had to make a decision on Trevor Lawrence. On a contending team, Eric, I actually sent away Trevor Lawrence. It's a basketball league. I sent away Trevor Lawrence. I got Geno Smith back, James Cook, Trey McBride. And I think I had to add a third or something to it. I'm going I just need a quarterback, right? I just need a body who's startable, who's, in there. If I'm on a rebuilder, I don't think I do anything with Trevor Lawrence. You just hold on to him. You're not getting full bowl value. You just ride him in. But these contending teams, yeah, definitely. I'm not gonna potentially lose out on a fantasy championship because I was an asshole and just held on to Trevor Lawrence. Make something happen. You may not get an equal quarterback back. You may have to, like you said, go down to Jared Goff, but see if you can get a plus, right? See if you can get a plus that's usable for your team, whatever it is, whatever format, lineup.
Yeah, I like what you did. You got Trey McBride back. That could be a top 10 tight end, dynasty-wise next year. So that's a really nice get for you. Plus, James Cook isn't terrible. He's a top, 25 running back.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you get those multiple pieces in best ball, you can make that kind of stuff work.
For sure.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. Well, I kind of highlighted a little bit of this on 40, but I think there's 2 things that I keep in mind. It's been a question I got a lot. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is one of the higher end quarterbacks, and it happened so late in the year, right before the playoffs, that this question all of a sudden got pounced to me all at once. And I think the 2 things I describe as you have to evaluate before you really answer what you're going to do. Mike hit the rebuild point beautifully. If you're rebuilding, there is no reason to move him because no one's going to trade for Trevor Lawrence other than at a discount. And for you just hold there. As a contender, if you have Trevor Lawrence and you're going to move him, I think the key thing first is you have to say to yourself, okay, if I move almost even if you don't move Lawrence, but if I move Lawrence or if I move first round draft capital, like high-end productive players on my team or assets, if I make that move, now with what will become of this team after that, do I have a serious puncher's chance in this playoffs now? And if the answer to that is not a pretty resounding yes, you should not be doing this. There's no reason to forego that type of dynasty value for a win now move if you're not actually really, in your opinion, going to even be at the table as far as realistic chance to win it all, right? Now, if the answer is yes, though, I do think one of the things where this is such a key answer, if it's no, I'm probably not going to make a short-sighted move like this. Now, if the answer is yes, though, if you have a team where you say yes, like not having Lawrence is going to potentially have this team that is very much in the mix of winning a title go to waste, I do not want to do that. Like, you don't want to waste that because, like, Patrick Mahomes is a perfect example for me. Last year, Patrick Mahomes helped you win titles by far and away. He was unbelievable. Look at him this year. You can still have the perfect roster construction. Patrick Mahomes has been more of a detriment, actually. Like, my point with that is every year in and year out, you are not going to be able to guarantee yourself to be in a position to win it all in your league. And if you're in that position, I think it's important to capitalize and give yourself every chance to actually win. So if that's the case, now you can say, yes, I think like making a move, even if it's not the greatest dynasty value, gives me a real chance to win. I think you've got to explore every single one of those options. And there's going to be times where, yes, I'll take the tear down to Goff here. Like, can Goff have anywhere near the safety of Trevor Lawrence long term? Absolutely not. Is Goff who I'd take in a startup before Trevor Lawrence next year? Absolutely not. But he's going to play right now. And I think then you kind of can craft the deal around, is it line up and is it shallow starters? Okay, if that's the case, maybe I don't want to add a couple extra depth pieces here. But is it best ball? If you're best ball, okay, I'll take Goff. And can you throw me, like Mike got it, McBride, can you throw me another receiver that some of these rebuilders might actually be okay getting off of? That's going to add to the Goff side, and now you can win a title. So I think understanding format will be the reason, or how you actually craft the deal. But I think it's very important to make sure that if you're going to make a deal off of a Lawrence, off of a crazy high draft capital pick, if you're doing that, you better be in a damn good position to win. And if that's the case, you should do it. But I think if you make a move like that and you're not in a good position to win, that's how you stay in the middle. That's how you end up setting your team back too long in Dynasty overall. So I guess that's my way to answer the question.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with all that. Another thing I would like to talk about a little bit too is kind of how the other version of it from Mike's side when he was talking about how he got Geno Smith. You know, these teams that have the Geno Smith, you have Sam Howell, you have Jared Goff, you have some of these lesser quarterbacks. You can go maybe try and get Trevor Lawrence for cheap if you're out of it. If you're in the middle, bottom of it, go ahead and try and trade some of those quarterbacks that are still playing, that are still useful, and see if you can go get Trevor Lawrence. You might have to give up a plus to do it, but it's a lot cheaper than if he was healthy. So that's another one to go and try if you're out of it right now.
Yeah, you take this conversation, you just move it to Joe Burrow too, right? Like kind of the same things you're doing for Joe Burrow, just change the name to Trevor Lawrence. Immediately after that, first off, I go through my leagues. Which one's got trade deadlines that I have Trevor Lawrence in? Shit, okay, I got to get something done. So you're just sending out offers left and right. Like, somebody save me. Here's a Hail Mary. We're down to like an hour before the trade deadline actually hits because he got injured late in that game, and you're going, okay, well, we're up against the clock here. We got to get something done. But after that, once you got it done and you can relax and you go, okay, these other ones, I got time, I can kind of figure it out. That was the next thing I did, Eric. As a rebuilder, I'm going, all right, who's got Trevor Lawrence in these leagues, and are they competing? And what do I possibly have to flip, 1 for 1? Or what can I add just a little plus here? Could I possibly work myself from a Brock Purdy type into a Trevor Lawrence, and I just add a little plus, and now they feel good about themselves? So, yes, highly trying to acquire the Joe Burrows, the Trevor Lawrence. If there's no trade deadline, this is almost perfect here once we hit the first week of the playoffs and it's solidified. If that team's in the playoffs and they have a Trevor Lawrence and he's not playing, you best believe I'm in.
All right.
Well, they can go down with the ship, right? They can go down, taking the 0 in a best ball league, or having to start a shittier quarterback, and or they can take my deal. Like, I don't really care. I would love to get Trevor Lawrence though. So definitely make yourself available and go try to get those guys.
I think too, to that point, it actually. So it's interesting that one of the extra layers that I've been finding is, so the Trevor Lawrence thing is kind of what is the most immediate, and that's the most immediate injury. But there's actually been a couple times where I haven't got a deal done, but I've got conversations going actually right now as we speak of somebody that was holding like an actual contending team, right? That was holding any one of these injured quarterbacks. So like Anthony Richardson, even, for example. It's been a long time ago, but he comes to the same conversation. It's like, okay, now a team that was holding on to A-Rich that's looking across their league saying like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think I'm going to be in it now. All of a sudden, one of the best teams in the league had Trevor Lawrence, and one of the best teams in the league had Joe Burrow. And he's like, well, shoot, I might actually be able to get back in the mix. Maybe I will move A-Rich now. Like, you don't actually know necessarily the reasons. I can look at a team all the time, and I'm going to be biased to the way I view dynasty leagues, right? But you don't know why they're holding on to a player, or if they even know it. If maybe they're not diligent, but maybe they will move on from a player. So any of these quarterbacks that are sitting out there that are on IR, that have a big value jump, absolutely be hitting these guys up. Like, what would it take? Is there an offer I can make to you? Do I have a quarterback that gives you the ability? Would you tear down to any one of these guys, and what would it take to get it done? Open that conversation for the next week if you have a deadline, and in the playoffs if you don't, because it's, believe it or not, these few weeks are going to go by really quick, and once the season's over, there's no reason for them to move them now. So try to strike while the iron's hot. Absolutely.
All right, couple middling quarterback twos that got hurt this week: Derek Carr and Kenny Pickett. I just don't know if anybody really wants any of those guys, to be honest with you. But what would you guys be willing to too? Those guys would probably be replacing. Sounds like Carr just going to miss 1 week with a concussion. We don't really know too much about Pickett yet. He's definitely missing this week. I would guess he probably misses a month, but we'll see.
So
what do you guys think?
Those two guys are interesting. Like, I could probably pivot off for a second, or, give me Jake Browning and, like, I don't know. Can I get a spot start running back? Can I get just something back? Can I get a Jake Browning in a third? Like, if I'm a contender and I'm really desperate, like, right. They're tougher to move because, like you said, most people don't fucking want them. If I'm kind of on a rebuilder, though, like,
how dirt cheap I can buy them, right?
Right, because they're both quarterbacks, and they both. I'm not gonna say they're locked in starters next year, but Derek Carr got a bag, from the Saints.
I'd say they're like 90% to be the starter.
Right, and even if you wanted to be like really cautious, like they're definitely above 50-50. Okay, like both of them. One's on a rookie deal, the other one got a bag. So I don't know, how dirt cheap do you want to get? Maybe I got a late second line around. Like, could that entice you? Maybe I got a Zach Moss. Like, could I trade you Zach Moss straight up for a quarterback? Like, I'd see him fucking up. Yeah, if I'm on the rebuilder, I'm not going to be like too grossed out by trying to acquire a Kenny Pickett or a Derek Carr, because that could be a piece. Like, I could flip that thing. I got all off season. Where, hey, yeah, Derek Carr's starting for him. Okay. Maybe somebody's quarterback needy, and all of a sudden I just took a massive profit because I traded some shittier piece. I think I definitely don't gloss over the fact that you could go acquire a Derek Carr or a fucking Kenny Pickett on a rebuilder for dirt cheap right now, and it would be a plus EV move for you, come next year.
Yeah, next year for sure.
Yeah, I think the interesting part is, like, both of these guys, different situations, but I think a lot of people will, to Mike's point, kind of gloss over it because it's like Derek Carr's age and the fact that he's basically been banged up all year and not played as the typical Derek Carr we're used to. People get so tired in Dynasty these days. It's all, what have you done for me lately? Kenny Pickett, I will admit, has not looked very good overall for his first 2 years in the league, but all signs point to still the Steelers are a good enough record. I don't think they're going to be necessarily in a position to replace him, and he's still a quarterback in Superflex that had first-round draft capital. So sometimes, even if it feels gross, if you get those guys at a super discount, you just do it.
Yeah, I mean, some people took Pickett over Drake London in their rookie draft. So.
They sure did, even when they shouldn't have been able to.
I did too. We did a whole fucking podcast talking about that.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Jameis and Trubisky for the next couple weeks?
Jameis is a fun one because people love him, yet he sucks, which is hilarious, right? Like, we all think that he's, like, really good, and I don't know, maybe I just, I'm reading too much of Fizzle's tweets. Like, Fizzle loves Jameis because of the FSU connection, and I like Jameis. He's fun. says hilarious shit. Right? He's entertaining. He's always got energy. But the fact remains, like, he came right in, and I don't know if you watched the game, but immediately threw what should have been a pick six that got fucking tipped, and then Chris Olave took it for like 30 or something like that. And I'm going, there's Jameis.
Yeah.
That's why you're the only 30 for 30 quarterback we've ever seen. And not 30 for 30 documentary. 30 picks, 30 touchdowns. So.
Jameis, at least I'll say the best thing about him in fantasy, he gives you a ceiling, right? Because
he's gonna chuck it.
But the best part about it also, if you're someone that watches, like if you watch a lot of Saints this year, which, I mean, you know, outside of living in New Orleans, I struggle to believe you do. But if you do, I've watched a fair amount actually. And you know what ends up happening? I switch out of it because it's boring. You know, like it's a lot of checkdowns. It's a lot of old school football. Jameis comes in and he excites that game up both ways in the same drive. Throws a pick that gets dropped. And now next thing you know, he throws a laser, you know, moon ball 30, 40 yards. And you're like, that's Jameis. Jameis is the most frustrating and the most exciting. He's like the game of golf. Golf is one of the most fun yet most frustrating games to play. That's what Jameis is. He'll make a highlight throw, and then the very next play, he might throw a pick six that loses the team the game. That's exactly what Jameis is.
Yeah, Trubisky is not that. Trubisky is very, very just not fun to watch at all. He can run the ball a little bit, so he does have a little bit of value that way. But now he's getting, you know, a little bit older. Hasn't really played too much the last couple of years. I don't know. We'll see on Trubisky. I mean, the Patriots' defense has been really good. I don't know if you guys have seen the stat. They're the only team in NFL history to give up less than 10 points in 3 straight games and lose all 3 games.
I mean, I'd imagine just teams that even have the chance to fit that criteria are pretty small.
Right. I mean, their defense, even though they've lost a lot of guys, has been pretty good. But, yeah, they can't score for shit.
Mitch, I don't know if you guys saw this one. Mitch, they lost to Arizona last week, and there was a snap. It wasn't really terribly low. It was a little low, and then he didn't catch it cleanly, and he's trying to get it. Ball's between his legs. He gets hit. He doesn't get it. You could just kind of feel how Tomlin's got to be going crazy on the sideline over something like that. And I don't know. Mitch, I think, is a, you know, he's a safe rushing floor, kind of, I guess, but he's a total best ball option quarterback. Like, you can't feel good about Mitch really in any other capacity at all.
No.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of buys this week. There's only 2 teams on buy, so you shouldn't have to start Mitch. But if you have to, woof, good luck.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know where people are at with their with the quarterback injury situation. So I can't tell you. You shouldn't have to start Mitch because you might be starting.
I have a redraft team, which, you know, someone here drafted that would love to have Mitch Trubisky at the only quarterback spot that I have it on. But no, he's not a great. He's not a good option to really start. If you have him in best ball, you hope for the best. Look, Kenny Pickett in this offense all year has not thrown for many touchdowns, and you know, whatever you think of Mitch, I don't think he's gonna come in and light the world up. So
No, I don't think so either. I mean, the only thing I'm looking forward to on Thursday is going to bed early. You know, so I don't have to watch this shit.
Man,
I
love that.
Tough.
Right there. That's a tough take, man.
That's a true take, though. It's very true.
It's fantastic.
All right. Let's move on to the running back since we cleared up the quarterback. So I've got a bunch of running back injuries. So we'll just start with Jonathan Taylor. We didn't really talk about him last week because of the thumb injury, but sounds like he's going to miss 3 to 5 weeks. I just saw a thing that Shane Steichen said he will see on him for this week. I don't think he's playing this week with the thumb injury, but it sounds like it's probably more closer to the 3 weeks than 5 weeks. What would you guys be doing with Taylor here the rest of the year?
No, there's still a chance, right? The problem with running backs and like trying to trade running backs away is they're running backs, and everybody goes, "I don't give a fuck." I don't want them. Like if you're a rebuilder, you're like, I don't really want to take the risk. Now I think there's a possibility, kind of like the Derek Carr we were talking about, right? Like those kind of quarterbacks, the Derek Carr, Kenny Pickett's. Could you get JT really, really cheap and know that you're gonna have a plus EV move in the offseason? Sure, you can definitely probably do that. If I'm a contender, though, I don't know what the hell I'm going to get back that's going to be as meaningful as Jonathan Taylor could possibly be. If, like, for example, JT's good to go in 2 weeks, right? Week 16, right? I need him first round. Could I wait? Could I wait and see what the actual injury timeline is? I think possibly. I think more so instead of just trading Jonathan Taylor, I'm probably just looking to see if there's any other running backs on the market that I could go acquire, right, and just eat the zero of Jonathan Taylor for the next couple of weeks instead of dealing him away at a massive loss. Because I honestly don't know what the hell you'd get back. Like, what's a realistic trade for Jonathan Taylor? Like, could I get a wide receiver 1-for-1 on running back? Like, who am I going to get that's even I'd feel good about? Like, could I get a James Conner? And even then, you've seen that guy have bad weeks. So
I kind of almost want to just go get Zach Moss, and I'll just have either one for the rest of the year.
There you go. That's the kind of move that you do, right?
Yeah.
I don't like to handcuff dudes, but is it a handcuff if the guy's already out and I got to send 2/3 for Zach Moss?
Right.
I don't think so. Like, I just go try to get Zach Moss, or I'll go see if the Kyron manager is a rebuilder, which he's actually on a lot of rebuilding teams as I look around my league.
Yeah.
So.
The only thing with like a Connor or Brian Robinson, they're both on bye this week, so they don't really help you for this week. So you kind of have to find somebody else. But yeah, it is hard to trade him because you still want like that first round value for Taylor. Like, I don't want the 201 for Jonathan Taylor, but
I don't really want to swap a Jonathan Taylor next year for Braylon Allen. I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor because I've seen him play in the NFL and have big weeks. You know?
Exactly.
I think that the thing with him is, like, if I'm going to trade him, it's probably because realistically, the way that the dynasty markets is today, like, you're not going to be able to cross trade an injured running back. You have a hard enough time trading a running back for a receiver of worth anyway, right? So like, a running back to a receiver that's an injured running back, as great as Taylor is probably not going to reward you at all. Like, you would have to find someone that would be willing to give me like something like at least like a Pacheco type, and I just don't think someone would do that unless they're in a position like they're rebuilding. And then even then, like, I don't know. The way I trade personally is not to go get another running back like that's a year older in a rebuild. So it's probably hard to navigate because he's not a very valuable piece as a running back that's injured. People don't value it that way. So, like, if I could make a trade for a running back 1-for-1, I would do it, but I think you're going to have to go too low. Like, I wouldn't take Connor 1-for-1, frankly. I think Mike's more right that I would. The best play with Taylor,
James Cook.
I think that would probably get me. At least I'm interested there. Like, it's high enough to where I'll, discuss.
If I could get like a Rashad White back who's been playing really well,
I would take Rashad White easily.
That's 1-for-1.
Yeah. Those are the types. Eric just hit it. Like, if I can get a true warp difference maker right now at running back for Taylor, I can almost forego whatever Taylor's value is because he gets me the warp high end option right now. I'm in. I could do that. I can get behind
the real hard part about running backs is you're going to find most of the good running backs are concentrated on the teams you're competing with. And those dudes are usually unlikely to deal. Like, why am I taking a zero running back and giving you this guy? That's the tough one. Where when you trade injured quarterbacks, right? Adam and I have seen like spray charts where we were talking about on 4D. Like, we pulled up a one league we're in, and we're like, Jesus, look at all these good quarterbacks on shitty bottom, not making the playoffs teams. Like, that's kind of all over the place. Usually good running backs are kind of concentrated, though, in those top six teams because the rebuilders don't want them. Like, they've been moving them all year. Like, get them off my team, get them off my team. So a little tougher to trade 1-for-1 within the running back. I think you'd probably have to get pretty creative and try to get a wide receiver or something like that, possibility of being on a rebuilder.
I think this is a perfect time. I wasn't actually going to do this, but with Mike saying that, like, I'll tell you what my plan is, frankly. I hate giving all, like, I know in most of my leagues I'm playing against everyone that's going to be listening to this, so I don't necessarily like to tell you this ahead of time, but I guess I'll just do it. My plan with Jonathan Taylor on all my teams, even if I'm going to be playing in the first week of the playoffs and I can't move him. So all the leagues I play in outside of like 4 or 5, so majority of them, over 20, they have no trade deadline. And this is another point. I'm basically going to be putting this down your guys' throats all week of the no trade deadline. Because guess what I can do, and this is literally my plan. Mike just kind of hit it. There's going to be 2 teams that lose in the first round of the playoffs every time. Now, some of them will inevitably be myself, and then I won't care about this. But when I'm advancing or I'm already have a bye, now I have 2 teams that were in the playoffs that probably have running back pieces that they don't have to care about for next year, and I can literally go try to pick off those guys in that round between the first round and the second round. And the same thing going into the fantasy championship if I still have him laying around. Like, that, those are the type of things I think you can do in a no trade deadline league that give you a lot more options to make a move for a guy like Jonathan Taylor. Because right now, to Mike's point, you have half the teams in your league ain't going to deal. All of a sudden, that number becomes bigger by the week with no trade deadline in the playoffs. That's my plan with Taylor on those teams, Eric.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Next running back we'll talk about. We'll go with Ramondre Stevenson. He's out for this game Thursday. I bet he misses a month too, because that was a pretty bad ankle sprain that he suffered. What are you guys doing with Ramondre?
Same kind of thing, man.
Same
but you
thing.
just lower.
He's dead though.
Just lower it, 10 times, because he wasn't that good beforehand, right?
Right.
I think the difference is I'll take any body that has a running back like option, because I don't really think Ramondre is all that valuable in the future necessarily.
Yep.
So I'm okay, like just get me a running back body with Ramondre. I think that's the difference for me.
I did get a Ramondre deal done. Now I didn't have Ramondre, but I'm a
Okay.
And as a rebuilder, I'm going, I don't really need Zach Moss. Could he have a job next year? Yeah, for sure. But could he also just be a career backup for the rest of his life and go back to sucking and being nothing? Sure. And is there a possibility at least that, maybe Ramondre gains some steam? They get a new offensive coordinator, new coach, this kind of thing, new quarterback, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, Ramondre is actually kind of looking like a, back-end RB2. For this year.
Right. Okay.
And then it's just a plus EV. Like I flip what could be a dead asset for something that may have value. So if you want to talk about what to do with Ramondre, maybe that's probably your best case scenario is I can get a Zach Moss for the here and now for the
Sure. For Ramondre. If I'm contending, yes, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
If you're on a rebuilder though, don't it just kind of make sense?
No, I'm not saying it does. I'm saying it's
right?
a good fit, I think, because I don't typically like to take on running backs and rebuilds, but that's one where maybe the name cachet makes so much sense in the rebuild side that I'll try to flip him next year if I have to, or just hope that he has a job if I'm ready to roll next year, right?
And it gives you a 0 if you're rebuilding, at least for the last week of the season, right?
Yes.
14, for sure.
Yep. Nice.
You're like, good, I got a 0.
What do you guys think about Zeke? Is that somebody you would want for your stretch run here? Like probably could buy him for a third?
That could be another possible Ramondre flip right there, where you're like, hey, maybe Zeke. Right, but you're looking at like I don't know what Zach Moss trades for. Probably a 3rd round pick at best.
Probably, yeah.
Right, maybe 2/3 if you're being lucky. That's the kind of like what value you're looking to get back from Ramondre at this point, which is gross. And Zeke would fit into that category. Zeke is on a contender. Like I might think about trying to buy Zeke for a 3rd here for the next couple weeks with Ramondre out, because I don't know, that high ankle looked kind of bad, and it looks like you're going to be out of. You're not going to have Ramondre for the fantasy playoffs for the rest of the fantasy football year. How about that?
Right, I agree with that. Especially when they're not playing for anything, they're 2-10 or whatever the fuck, and they ain't gonna want to win. They're gonna want to get Caleb or May or whoever. So, next one up that I wanted to mention, we'll go with Zach Charbonnet. Obviously, it looks like Ken Walker is probably gonna miss another week. Charbonnet got hurt. I don't know if he's going to be able to play. So DJ Dallas is going to start. So I don't know if we can really move Charbonnet. I'd probably just hold on to him. I think you guys are probably the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I don't think the fervor ever really was a thing for Charbonnet anyway. So
he had one bad week against a good defense, and he had one pretty good week against a good defense.
Right, but he got hurt. Like it was almost like before any like hype could come, he ended up being doubtful to come back in the game, and now he's hurt. So I don't really know what his value spiked
and it
at
was
all.
always hanging over his head too, right? Like Kenneth Walker's coming back, and Kenneth Walker's always looked better than him and played over him all year. So
exactly.
Yeah, and Pete Carroll said his oblique injury for Ken Walker is complex, whatever the fuck that means. And thanks, Pete.
That's Peteism right there.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
So Charbonnet might miss this week. Who knows? DJ Dallas would end up starting. DJ Dallas is probably on waiver wires, so you can maybe take a flyer on him in a best ball league. Yeah, pass. But Charbonnet got the worst hand dealt to him. Like Walker gets hurt, we finally get to see what he can do, and he gets San Francisco twice and Dallas once. So like that 3-week stretch here has been very brutal. This is going to be the last week of it.
Yep.
Next one up was Derrick Henry. Concussion, probably going to miss this week. Tajay Spears will get the start. What are you guys thinking about Derrick Henry?
he's not in concussion protocol, so he's fucking playing, right? Which just speaks to the legend of Derrick Henry. Adam and I talked about it on the recap where, like, it could be a possibility you wanted to go get Tajay Spears, but he had too much dynasty value. Like, people love him. People really love these running backs who are backups and then have all these great efficiency metrics, and then we're always shocked when they get a full-time role and all of a sudden that efficiency plummets. See Tony Pollard, see Jalen Warren. Like, this shit always happens to them. But, man, I bought a shit ton of Derrick Henry for this playoff push, and I think I'm going to stand behind it. Like, that's a dude I want to get on my team for the playoff push. This matchups are fantastic outside of, I think, he plays one tough defense. But you saw him have a pretty big game before that concussion. Like, he multiple touchdowns here over the last couple weeks. I want all the Derrick Henry in the world. Like, I'm diamond handing the shit out of him. I think he's fine. Like, he's going to be great. You can't even concuss Derrick Henry. Can't even put him in the concussion protocol for more than a half a day. He's too good.
Yeah, they're playing Miami this week. I believe it's one of the Monday night games. They ain't gonna be running the ball very much, that's for sure. They're gonna be down a lot.
Yeah, I think so, but in the same sense that they don't ever really get away from the run game, right? Like they will let Will Levis air it out, but they'll also just hand the ball off. And the one thing you probably can do is Miami's defense has taken a couple massive blows here over the last couple of weeks, right? You lost Jalen Phillips to that Achilles. They've been playing well, but then they lost Jerome Baker, so shout out to all the IDP guys. Was it Duke fucking Riley, I think was the backup that I started, right? I was like, I got to get some Duke Riley in my IDP best ball league. So... yeah, I don't know how confident you want to be in. Miami's defense keeps taking a hit, so maybe Tennessee will be able to gash them in the run game and keep it closer than we think.
Yeah, they could.
I think too, like, Vrabel's just he's looking even the years that they were good with Tannehill. Like I don't think he knows anything. He's not going to get to Mike's point. He's not going to get away from it. He's not going to like try to get in a match where you're going to throw the ball over and over with Miami because you'll lose that every time. The problem is the point with Tajay, at least I'll say this. Like, you go back and you just look recently. I think for just in general in Dynasty right now, the recency bias to me is always – it's frankly actually kind of fun to just track because I have a lot of recency bias. It's human nature. But, like, I'm always surprised by certain things in the recency bias department. Like, you look at the Titans. So 2 weeks ago, they won – this last week they lost to the Colts in a close one, but they won versus Carolina. So you're thinking, okay, you're playing Bryce Young. This team is, awful, right? Carolina's as bad as it gets this year, literally as the worst team. Tajay Spears got 2 carries in this game, guys. Like, Tajay Spears, all of a sudden, his value is going to go to the moon. And why? Like, I'm not saying he's not going to get the work and he can't be good in a small, but, like, realize that he got 2 touches in a game that they're going to supposedly win this game and run the ball out, and he got 2 carries. So it's just, I don't know. I struggle a little bit. As much as I want to see Tajay Spears do well, I've always liked the way he plays in his game, and ever since the Senior Bowl, rise of him, I've been excited. I cannot do it at cost, man. It's just, I'm out on Tajay Spears because if it becomes a thing, I feel like I already paid the price right now to make him become a thing. I already paid for that, and I don't know that he's going to do it.
Yeah, so Miami is one of the tough matchups, right, defensively, at least against the run that Derrick Henry had. But then he gets Houston twice, 15 and 17, in the fucking Seattle defense in Week 16. So for you super contenders who don't have to play till 16, Derrick Henry might be the, like, if anybody's got any concerns about him, I'll flip Tajay plus to go get Derrick Henry at this point on a contender easily.
Big time. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. Last running back I wanted to bring up, Brian Robinson. I believe he had a hamstring injury. I'm guessing he's going to miss probably a week or 2 here. He probably fits in the same mold as some of those other guys, but I am interested in some Antonio Gibson, even though they're on a bye this week.
Yeah, crazy that he's got life again, huh?
Yeah.
It only took this long. Brian Robinson, I think I would treat like Ramondre, but a little bit better because you saw that guy you saw him be a plus running back, surprisingly, an actual warp difference maker. Now, the only hesitation I have is, Eric, you and I, we talked about this, and Adam, you did it on this very show, right, doing the crystal ball projections. what happens when they get a new coach there? Like, is that still their guy? Like, does he have a job? So you'd be a little bit concerned. The hamstring thing, too, like, how long is that going to last? I mean, we could say at least a week, but then you've seen these hamstrings sometimes, like, it feels like T. Higgins has had a hamstring for 17 weeks already. Like, we haven't seen him ever, so I think I'm definitely trying to move Brian Robinson. And hopefully you can get like a Zach Moss and Antonio Gibson, Ezekiel Elliott, one of these guys. Maybe you can move Brian Robinson for Derrick Henry. Like, maybe that's a thing. You can possibly go see if you could explore that one. But yeah, I think I'm going to move him because I don't really want to take the risk too of how long this hamstring is going to linger. Right? You know, like, okay, this week he's done. What's it look like for 15? He's questionable, right? Or he's doubtful. And then week 16, you need him again, and it's, he's questionable. He's a game-time call. It just feels like one of those things that can linger for far too long. But I am with you. I am interested in Antonio Gibson. I was interested in him a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the crystal ball, looking at it for the 24. Now you actually get to see him in a pretty big full-time workload here for the next couple weeks, which would be nice.
Yeah, I think too with B-Rob. I think in general, like I don't know if we probably have more running backs. We might be out now. We went through a few running backs in general. I'll say this: outside of a few rare exceptions, where Taylor for me still is going to fit this because he's so hyper athletic, and I'd be willing to bet on a guy like him aging well. He's not quite Barkley, but the same idea, right? Like if I'm going to invest in a running back for longer than a short 1 year sprint, it's going to be a Taylor type. It's going to be a Barkley type. It's going to be one of these guys that's elite, Bijan, Gibbs type thing. A few of those guys fit the bill. Everybody else, I'm kind of looking at this position as a whole, like, what can you do for me right now? So especially in the playoffs, B-Rob, you've been great. You have been a found money surprise for me this year, frankly. Like I knew you'd get work. I did not know you'd be this efficient and look this good. It was awesome. But you've done everything you could. I don't know that I can see you any point in the fantasy playoffs and rely on you. If I can get rid of you for value that gives me something right now in my lineup, it's done. It's done. It's just the way that I'm going to treat the position as a whole outside of a few bodies.
And I like even picking up Gibson, even if he is going to start the next couple weeks. But I still like holding on to Gibson for next year. He's going to be a free agent. Hopefully he goes somewhere else that knows how to use a guy like that. So I think he only has positive value going forward for me. So I definitely would pick up some Gibson if I can for cheap.
Agreed.
Wide receivers. So we do have a couple on here. We'll start with Tank Dell. Why the fuck is a 170-pound guy blocking on the fucking goal line?
Well, we Eric, you're echoing what we talked about. I think it was on the recap, like right away. It's like, why? What are we doing? I mean, It's just this one sucks. I'll tell you this, Eric. At least for me, it sucks because this team also. He was clicking, not just for fantasy, but like for where they're at with T-Law going down, the division race they're in, to lose a guy like that is so massive, and it's just so dumb, so stupid.
Yep. What are you guys doing with him? I've seen some trades with him. You're moving him? Okay.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. It was a nice story. He was playing really well. We really like what we saw out of Tank Dell, and maybe you could project it for the future. But the fact of the matter is now he's an injured wide receiver, done for the fantasy year, and this is a guy in a deep pool of wide receivers where you can get a lot of similar production. So if I'm on a contender with Tank Dell, I'm moving him, and you have a lot of options. Of options of dudes you can go get one for one. It's the beauty and the curse about wide receivers. You like when they pop, but when they pop, they have to pop to such an extreme level where they separate themselves from anybody else, and like one hiccup puts them right back in the pool of everybody else. So he's had his one hiccup. It's the injury. I'm moving him. I'm moving him for another wide receiver just within that territory, and I don't have to be picky about it at all, right? Like, if there's anybody out there to let me move a Tank Dell for Mike Evans at this stage, you're insane, and I will gladly take it.
Right.
Keenan Allen, fuck the dynasty value. This is an easy pivot. But there's a lot of other like gross older wide receivers that people maybe don't value that I would move one for one. Amari Cooper, I would move Tank Dell for Amari Cooper one for one at this point. You could probably even consider like a Deontay, even though he hasn't done a whole lot these last couple of weeks, and now it's going to be the Mitch Trubisky show. Yeah. Like I think I'd probably pass on that one and try to one of the other options first.
Right. And a lot of people are valuing Tank so high right now. Like
That's the biggest thing, Eric, right
yeah,
there.
so I think what Mike is saying, you could get a Mike Evans or Keenan Allen straight up. I think a lot of people might do that just because they're like looking at the dynasty value of those guys.
The one thing I will say too, we talked about it on the recap a little bit, is get after trying to move Tank Dell while it's still hot. Like as you go another couple weeks, his value will start to fall off. But immediately after an injury like this, that still lingers for people. So if you're going to move Tank Dell, do it now. Like get after it.
The thing with him too is that oh, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you think about it. Okay, this is the difference in the running back and the wide receiver thing. As we're switching, going to a guy like Tank Dell is such a perfect way to illustrate this. Like part of the problem with Taylor is you're going to struggle to move him to any other team in a specific build because of the way that the position's valued. Like Tank Dell is coming off of 3 weeks before the injured week, which he still played a lot of snaps in that game. Like it was towards the end of the game, but he's wide receiver like 1, 3, and 10, right? And he's young, and people are excited about C.J. Stroud. This is one of the assets that to hold would be silly because you can pivot to all kinds of players. And if you had some, staunch defenders and people that are rebuilding that want to hold on to Keenan Allen and Mike Evans, you have a card now to flip to them where it's going to be hard for them to say no to, right? Like we've seen some of these guys that want to hold on to Evans and Keenan Allen when they're rebuilding, and you're just like, why? Well, okay, I can't reason with you. If they don't take Tank Dell, they just can't help themselves. I mean, the point is Tank Dell will flip for at least you could probably almost get what he was worth before the injury. Like that's how much he's retained his value, at least to right now. So if you have that option, it's too easy for me to try to make a pivot if I'm contending. You just have to.
I'm glad that it's a broken bone at least and not like a torn ACL or something like that. So at least he has that going for him. I did end up trading for a Tank Dell in one of my leagues. Shout out to Shane Manila, with Dynasty Trades in 5. Me and him made a trade. He actually offered it to me. We ended up doing, I got Tank Dell, Mike Williams, and Antonio Gibson. I gave him back DJ Moore and 2 tight ends. I gave him back Irv Smith and Tanner Hudson, which didn't really matter to me. But his tight ends were kind of shitty. But I took Tank Dell and Mike Williams back and got Gibson back with it too to give up DJ Moore. So I'll take the shot at it. We'll see what happens. I know Mike Williams is going to be like 30 next year. So I'm 6-11 or whatever in that league. So it wasn't like I was contending. So.
I love that.
To like the point though, would I trade my Tank Dell straight up for DJ Moore? Yeah, I'd take DJ Moore at this point because he's going to score me points.
Yeah.
Fuck that dynasty value part at this point in the game. So I see exactly what Shane was doing, and then you got a little bit of juice, right? Like the rebuilder. I like your side because I'm not a Mike Williams guy. But I'll take him if you're going to give him to me for free, right? Like if it cost me a Tanner Hudson, by all fucking means.
Right. And I got
if it cost me an Irv Smith too, you can have both these guys.
Yeah, that's why I just threw them both in there, and then I got Gibson back with it too. Yeah. So that was nice.
I like that. That's
I like that
deal.
side of a deal for both of them, right? That
I think it works both ways. Yeah.
Obviously, Shane's competing, so he needs points. And here we go.
I'll
take DJ Moore.
I also like for Shane too, like like Mike was talking about going through the list, and I think Tank Dell by and large I'm going to move because there's so many different options. But there is a point where I think about, man, I like Deontay Johnson quite a bit, but now you got Mitch in there, and it's just I don't know if I want to go that far. Not saying I wouldn't, but my point is if you get a guy like DJ Moore, I feel comfortable with his floor. But then the best part about him too is like he's spiky enough with Fields back now. Like he could end up winning you a week in the playoffs by himself. So that's like for me, that's a no-brainer pivot on both sides, frankly.
Yep. A couple more quick receivers here. So Hollywood Brown, he's missing this week, obviously with the bye. Hopefully he comes back out of it healthy. He's been kind of banged up the last couple games. Amari Cooper, I believe he left with a concussion, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay. So he had a concussion. He has a couple of injuries. He's kind of banged up. But I really like Cooper with Flacco, man. I think he could make some noise. So if Cooper can get healthy here for you down the stretch, I like him. And then Christian Watson with the hamstring injury. I haven't heard an update on that one yet either.
That's so disappointing with him.
Yeah. He's finally starting to get it.
Yep. The good news with a lot of these guys, they weren't integral parts of your championship run. Like they were just pieces, kind of just depth guys. A lot of these guys weren't like, man, I was starting them every single week. Like they were probably starting, maybe in a flex, but you should have some depth options around where you don't have to make moves. But if you can explore like 1-for-1s and stay within the same range of wide receiver, by all means, just here we go. I'll just keep it in the same range, and you can hold the 0 for this week or potential for the playoffs. If they miss multiple weeks. So that's what I would be doing with those guys. If not, like they're not necessarily guys I have to move. The Christian Kirk thing.
Oh, yeah, Christian Kirk, too. I forgot him.
Christian Kirk being injured. Looks like he's going to be out for the fantasy playoffs. I know Adam and I just made a move where it's like you kind of just stay within the same range, right? I flipped you Christian Kirk for Amari Cooper, and I think most people would probably rather have Christian Kirk for the long term than Amari Cooper. You get an age reset. And then for me as a contender, I'd rather have the guy who's actually going to play and, put up points. So that's kind of those type of deals with these wide receivers that you're looking for. Is like, is there anybody out there with a 1-for-1? Like, I don't like fucking Jerry Jeudy, but he's playing. Could I flip a Hollywood for Jerry Jeudy? I don't fucking like the guy, but it's the same range as Hollywood basically, and one of them's playing and giving me fantasy points, which I need this week.
Judy's been so damn disappointing this year. Like,
what's great?
I'm with Romeo Dobbs. Would you do like a Romeo Dobbs?
Yeah, I could see that.
Like a Hollywood for a Dobbs.
The thing about Judy is, because I'm with you, he's so disappointing, but I just want to circle back to the Christian Watson point for a second. Now, like, just think about Christian Watson before the last 2 weeks. Three weeks ago, he got a touchdown, but still, like, had 20 yards. Last 2 weeks, all of a sudden, he's wide receiver 8 and 10. Think about just those 2 weeks, how much in Jordan Love playing as great as he's been playing. Totally shifting our values of Christian Watson and where we're at. Obviously, the injury now sucks, but the one thing about Jerry Jeudy, to Mike's point, like I'm not you can check the receipts, by the way. I've not been a Jerry Jeudy guy like ever. But the one thing is you go back and he was having a very disappointing season last year, and what happened? 3 touchdown game. Like, he's a body still. He's still pretty athletic. Doesn't have great rapport with Russell Wilson, but I mean, I'll take something over nothing, and he at least gives me upside as much as I don't think it exists still. I've seen in the past where he has a game that's like, all right, like he's going to be a potential guy that gives me top 10 wide receiver. Fine. I mean, his floor is terrible. Let's call it what it is. The floor is awful, but the floor of what the injured guy is also nothing. So in that range, I'll take the pivot, even though I hate Jerry Jeudy, to my point.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, he's been so rough this year.
He's been terrible.
Yeah, terrible. But, I mean, I think from the most of this, even if there's guys who get injured this coming week as well, you can kind of make these same kind of moves. So just kind of set your teams up for the playoff run here before your trade deadline, or if you don't have a trade deadline. And like Adam said, when somebody drops out of your playoffs too, that's another person you can trade with that might have some good pieces that you can make deals with. So keep out for that if you don't have a trade deadline. That's a good thing to remember.
Yeah, man, just make
I
sure
love
when
that piece of strategy, man. As Bob loses, all right, Bob, you're done. Does your values change now?
Yeah, just make sure, in those no trade deadline leagues, you're duking it out, you're hitting each other, face blows, all that, but just don't talk too much shit, because remember, you might need them that very next day. You want them to make a move with you if you can. So
yeah, you remember T-Rock's buddy from the league last year.
Oh yeah.
Don't be that guy. T-Rock's co-manager. Don't be I don't remember what his name, Steve. Yeah, who gives a fuck what his name was? It doesn't matter what his name is. Fuck that guy.
Hey, where are you guys at on Parker Washington right now?
I've seen everyone blowing all their fab on him for sure.
I feel like it's at least a discussion. I'm not.
No, I get it.
I'm just saying it's amazing to me. He's I think he's the number one player. Okay, trending up on Sleeper. I sometimes like to track this just to see what 568,500.
Yep.
Ads.
He went from dead to alive.
Yeah.
That's
so
sure.
Where are we at? What do we think?
He's a best ball player for me. Like I don't want to start him in a lineup league really, unless I see he does it again this week, and he's going against Cleveland this week with C.J. Beathard. You got to remember that he's got C.J. Beathard as his quarterback. He's not going to have Trevor Lawrence. So, I think he's just like a best ball type player for me. I'm not like, if I can get him for some fab, sure, awesome. I'll take a shot at him, but I'm not like spending a 3rd round pick to go buy him or anything like that.
I really liked him in the pre-draft process. I liked him last year in college. I know some people hated him, but it's also the foundation of Penn State's offense. And maybe I have this Penn State wide receiver affinity, except for none of them this year. Every single Penn State wide receiver that I saw play this year sucks. Like, they're fucking terrible. So, every one of them. I hate every fucking one of them. But the last couple years, right, it was Parker Washington. Before that was Jahan Dotson. Then we found out the NFL didn't like him, right? Didn't get the draft capital. And then he really just became this, like, rookie draft, pick him in the 5th round, pick him up off waivers, right? Yep. I think I had a shit ton of shares of him, but then he didn't really do anything. He got hurt there earlier in the season, too, when he finally did play on a punt return, I think it was. He, like, fucked up his ankle. You're like, okay, well, now you're headed for year 0. Like, you're going to be a 0 all year. And then it took a Christian Kirk injury, but he's worked his way back up the depth chart. He had one good game. All of a sudden he came out of fucking nowhere, and it's like Parker Washington. So would I spend fab to pick him up? Yeah. Am I blowing most of my fab budget with all these quarterback injuries going around in Superflex leagues? Fuck no, because we're another week of like something bad happening to my teams where I'm not spending it on a guy who's, 50-50, Eric, like you said. Could he possibly make a lineup league? Sure. Is he more of a best ball pickup, just depth? Yeah. So I'm not blowing fab.
I can already tell you his story. Everyone's going to spend all their money on fab on him this week, and then Jamal Agnew's coming off IR, and Jamal Agnew's the slot guy, and Parker Washington's inactive again.
Isn't there a Tim Jones hanging around too?
He's a more of an outside guy, but yeah.
Whatever the fuck a Tim Jones is, that's a thing still. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's. I figured that's where you guys would be, but that's where I'm more at. Like, I'm happy to see him get on the field and play well. Like, he's a guy I was intrigued by in the draft process because we're intrigued by a lot of players, and I watched him play. I thought he was pretty solid. And if I told you didn't like him, still was interested in like best ball, especially. He's done nothing all year. He's got an opportunity now. So here's the problem for me. In Dynasty, this is a guy I'd like to add on my best ball teams for relatively cheap fab. He's like maybe he's a story to help you. Get a couple extra flex weeks that you didn't have. Okay, cool. But the problem is because he's a rookie and because, like, in Dynasty now, we get the rookie fever period is so long, this name is actually meaning so much more than it ever really should have. So people are going to act like this is a long-term play. Guys, he didn't do anything until Christian Kirk was out of the game. Literally. And before that, he couldn't even get on the field. Now he's more than anything just but a waiver wire pickup. That's where the problem is going to be, is that he's going to be worth too much because it's not a long-term thing for me with Parker Washington. Like, I'd like to see him succeed, but if you would bet on that, you're insane in my opinion.
Yeah, if I could buy him for the $5 or $10 fab that would take to get him, sure. But I've seen in one of my leagues he went like $550.
Oh my goodness, over half budget.
Yeah. I mean, well, the fact that you still had that much fab left over and you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to blow it on Parker Washington. Or I've seen like $30, $40, like even that's like still too much for me.
If I'm a rebuilder, by all means, like you guys didn't trade for my fab, by all means, I'm just going to blow it on fucking dart throws like Parker Washington. You guys can kiss my ass. But if I'm any type of a contender, I'm not spending that precious fab any more than a few bucks here or there. Or, in best ball leagues at him, I might throw a 4th rounder at him. It ain't a 3rd. I'm going to throw a 4th rounder at him to see if I can catch lightning.
Right. That's one of those things, too. Like, I actually have plenty of teams where, I've been trying my damnedest to not add during every week because I have a hammer of fab going in the playoffs, and I know what it means. I'm not going to ruin that right now for Parker Washington alone. I mean, I just don't think that would be the process play for me if I ever had that much fab still lying around right now. Like I said, that would be silly.
What happens if he comes out with C.J. Beathard this week and he's like 5 for 120 and 2 touchdowns? What do we do then?
If that was to happen?
Trade and Tank Dell for him. Shit.
Fucking trade. See you, Tank.
Here's Hollywood Brown. Does this get it done?
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, it is against Cleveland, so it probably will happen. You're probably right. So.
Now that Denzel Ward's back, baby. Listen, you told me a couple weeks ago not to besmirch the name of fucking Greg Newsome, and all I've seen that dude is get fucking cooked ever since.
Yeah,
it's a lot different in the second chair than the big boy chair, huh?
Yeah, Man, I think you guys as Cleveland fans need to really respect how much Denzel Ward means to that fucking defense, because that guy is a stud. And you see Greg Newsome as the number one.
Fucking hurt though. That's what drives me insane.
Well, put him in fucking bubble wrap, all right? Get him a hyperbaric chamber. Have Deshaun Watson.
I bet
hook
he
him up
has
with some
all this
massage.
stuff. Yeah, I bet he has all this stuff. He still gets fucking hurt.
Can I tell you? I don't know how I'll fit it in here, but I'm just gonna. It seems like a good time, better than ever. My buddy just sent me a life-size Denzel Ward fathead. So
Let's go.
whether you like him or not, we're gonna see if we can fit him on
Does
this
it
wall.
come with crutches?
I was going to tell you, Eric, the reason to bring it up, it's in bubble wrap. So they put Denzel Ward in bubble wrap.
Yeah, you might want to leave him.
He's in bubble wrap for now, buddy.
Oh, jeez. All right, you guys ready for America's favorite game? We'll get the hell out of here.
Let's
do
go,
it.
Bob Barker. We're ready.
All right. So the one I came up with in my head while we were doing this, what is your favorite stadium you've been to? Any sport, what's like your favorite stadium you've been to? Either like that look of it, the atmosphere of it, all of it, whatever you want to go with.
Man, this is. Whew.
So I've been to a lot of minor league stuff, like not a lot of professional stuff. I've only seen one NFL game in person, a lot of Hawkeye games at Kinnick. One. Okay, all right, I got this. All right, it's a short list though, but I can tell you for sure what the worst fucking stadium I ever been
Worst
to.
stadium.
The worst, Eric, and I will. It was a shithole, and I'll never go back. Tropicana Field in Tampa, where the Rays play, is a fucking dump. It's in the middle of God-fuck disgusting.
Yep.
The stadium looks like it's falling apart. It's an indoor one, even though they're playing Tampa, where you have nice weather. I don't fucking get it. It's dumb. It's horrible. Probably the best one I've been to, like my favorite one to go to, and it's the only NFL game I've been to, but the new U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis where the Vikings play is the atmosphere. It's a beautiful fucking stadium. It's easy to get to. Parking's awesome. The food, all the vendors there, everything's amazing. I mean, it costs a lot to get their food and their drinks, but they're top-notch, top tier. And then shout out to the Vikings fan. You guys got some of the coolest shit, other than your touchdown song you play afterwards. That is dumb. Lose that. But the fucking Viking horn, like to hear that in person, that's cool. The skull chant, to see them do it in person, when they put out the starting lineups and they run out and they got these fucking Viking dragon looking things breathing hot fucking fire everywhere. Minnesota, really, really cool stadium. But big contrast between the fucking worst. The Tampa Bay Rays is disgusting. Like, you guys should be relegated to single A ball with that dog shit you're rolling out there.
Right. All right, Adam.
Man, this is a tough one because I've actually been to a decent amount of baseball ones. So my uncle is a teacher. He's single, and he actually his thing is to go to stadiums. So he's actually been to every single MLB stadium. He's been to almost all of the minor league ones. He's taken me on some of these trips where we've gone to we go to see stadiums. It's something that most people wouldn't think to do, but he does it all the time, every summer. I would say the most obscure one that I enjoyed the most that was not going to get any love is Minor League Park. It's called the Nashville Sounds. Actually, pretty sweet. They have a guitar thing out there in the end of the stadium. So right outside of center field, there's like a scoreboard that's a guitar. It's an old stadium. It's nothing like super special, but it has a very unique feel. They let you basically get all kinds of souvenirs and like free balls. There's you can get the home runs that they're hitting in batting practice. You can take them. It's got a different feel than anything you've ever been to as far as a sporting event goes. So that would be like a one-off weird one. Best stadium I've been to for like bigger ones is tough. I think for baseball, actually, I'll give PNC with I'm not a Pittsburgh. I'm born in Pittsburgh. I'm a Cleveland guy though. All right, and don't really like Pittsburgh, but their stadium for baseball is awesome. You can hit it into the river. Really cool setup they have for that. I think for football, there's so many different ones I could say.
Have you been to Ohio State?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't been there yet.
That place is. The only thing is, I maybe it's changed now, but like it actually has. I went recently, and it can. Like the fact that you can get beer now is a totally different thing than it used to be. Like it used to be, you could go to a football game there and not be able to drink the whole time. You go to tailgate and then you go in there and you can't have any alcohol. So now they have at least alcohol sales there. Ohio State's pretty unique. I'd put that definitely in the mix. If the college atmosphere is your thing, I'd honestly tell you that would be the one that I've been to that's the most exciting for sure. I think that it's not the best stadium out there, but if you went to it, I'm going to put the Cleveland Browns fans in the experience you have there. It's not the greatest stadium in the world, but you'd be surprised at how ridiculously energetic this team is, or their fans are about this team that's been
even
horrible.
when they're dog shit. Yeah,
that's been horrible, is horrible. The rowdiness of them is really, really cool. So I didn't give you a clear answer. I gave you several, but those would be mine.
Oh yeah, they're rowdy. I remember when this is 2003 or 4 when the Eagles got Owens the first year.
Okay.
So I was an Eagles fan, McNabb fan, Eagles fan, whatever. And so the Eagles Browns were playing that year in Cleveland. I went to that game. It was actually a really good game. Went to overtime. Jeff Garcia was the Browns quarterback that year.
Nice.
And I wore my McNabb jersey down there. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. I went with my uncle. He's a cop, whatever. Just going through that parking lot, then you just get so much shit. Eagles suck. All this stuff, throwing fucking ice cubes and nachos at me and shit. Like it's fun. Like I went to a Browns Patriots game too. They set a Tom Brady jersey on fire in the middle of the parking lot.
Oh yeah.
There's all kinds of crazy shit. For atmosphere, definitely Browns for me. Coolest stadium I've been to is actually gonna be a little bit of a shocker. The old Tiger Stadium.
Oh, nice.
The old school that was built like the 1900s or whatever. I know it was probably a big giant shithole, but I went when I was like 8 years old. It's in the middle of Detroit. Fucking all the houses are boarded up. Guys are playing basketball in the parking lot, and their backboard's the fucking light pole. And they just got a basket where they cut the bottom out of it, and that was their basket. That was their basket they were playing with. But it was a total shithole. But just the nostalgia and the old look of the stadium, I thought that was just really cool. Just to see some of those old, old things there. That was pretty cool. The new Red Wing Stadium, the Little Caesars Arena, that's really cool. Like state of the art, like upscale one. The Blue Jacket Stadium's pretty cool too. I haven't really been to too many stadiums. I think I was at the old Marlins one back when I was a kid too, but I don't really remember too much of that. But if I had to pick one, it would definitely be the old Tiger Stadium.
Interesting. I never went to that one. It's close enough, but I never went to the old one. The old stadium that I went to that was like just for nostalgia purposes is cool to say you went. I went to the old Yankee Stadium, and that's just an experience just to be in New York. I was like a teenager kid, still young and not realizing, my uncle's like, yeah, buddy, I had a small gold chain. And he's like, listen, I probably just, wouldn't wear that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Just I wouldn't wear that out here.
Right.
I didn't. You saw it.
How about this one? I mean, I like Jacobs Field a lot. I still call it Jacobs Field. I'm not calling it the new names.
Nice. Progressive Field.
Did you know that is now like the 8th or 9th oldest stadium in baseball? Isn't that crazy to think? And that was it was in 96 when it was made, like we were kids.
It doesn't actually sound that crazy to me because I'm starting to feel pretty old. And I remember we split, like my family didn't have season tickets enough to pay for us. We had a bunch of families that split season tickets back when they were sold out every year. So it was actually we did almost like a fantasy draft. We had like 15 families that would split a whole season. I mean, you're talking 80 games, and so you had a draft one day. You come and you pick out the date, so you get all excited to go for one Saturday or Tuesday game or whatever. So that's a while ago, man. It makes sense. That's in the 90s, man. That's a long time ago now.
And another thing to make you old is when that stadium has had 2 All-Star games. That's when you know you're real fucking old.
2 All-Star games. I've been to both of them, and the other thing too is the stadium changed so much too. They ripped out a bunch of seats and things.
Yeah. When we went down there for a Monsters game the other day, some of the seats were removed and stuff, so they are updating it. So
one of the coolest ones I've been to too, I didn't mention, was Memphis. The Grizzlies used to play at the Pyramid, and the Memphis Tigers, the basketball team. They got a giant pyramid in the middle of Memphis, so they used to play at that when they first moved to Memphis. Now they got their own. downtown, I believe. I've never seen that one, but like the FedEx Forum or some shit
Yeah.
like
Right.
that they're playing. But they used to play in a fucking pyramid, which was really cool.
Yeah,
I
I remember.
Memphis Grizzlies.
I'd forgotten about that, but now that you say that, I remember that. That's awesome. I've never been. That's sweet.
Another one that I haven't seen a game at, but I did the stadium tour, was when I went to Vegas for the FFPC. I did a tour of the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium.
Oh, the new one? I heard that's crazy.
Yeah, that was freaking cool too. Really, really nice stadium.
We were down in Vegas 2021.
Yeah,
We
that's
took
when
a
I was
helicopter tour of the Grand Canyon, but they also do the Vegas Strip like on the way back, and flying over that fucking stadium in a helicopter was pretty cool. That stadium looks really nice from the outside. I have no idea what it looks like inside, but outside looks
inside
amazing.
is great. Yeah, inside definitely. If you ever go to Vegas, I forget what we paid. I think it was like maybe $50-$60 for a stadium tour, but it's pretty cool.
It's amazing too. Like,
I just took a tour of Daytona. Does that count? Because that fucking place is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I've been to I've been to the Indy 500. That would be my one that if I had to pick. But no, the old ones like the Detroit Tigers Stadium and stuff, like those old stadiums are really cool.
Nostalgia.
It's amazing too that one of the newest and most expensive out there is Allegiant Air's stadium. Like when Allegiant Air is like a budget airline company, I've always find that pretty interesting. But so the nostalgia one, I was gonna put this in the mix. I didn't know if we were counting like the coolest place that I've ever been to. I guess you call it a stadium. It's very limited as far as the amount of seats they have for true stadium seating. Is still Churchill Downs, where the Kentucky Derby's at. I mean, that place is like. It's got such a history, and if you're there for the Derby, unless you hate fun, like it's something you can never experience other than going. It's just a ridiculous time. People are getting crazy. There's thousands of people in the infield. It's an experience.
All right, well, one more quick one. If you could have one stadium you could go to for a certain game, what would it be? Because mine's pretty easy. I think it'd be Buckeyes, Michigan. I haven't been to one yet. I think that would be pretty cool to.
Oh, I want to go see the Eagles play at the Link.
Yeah, that's another one I would like to do.
Home game. Gotta go see it.
You want to go to hopefully Veterans Stadium? Bring it back. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Remember that
Play on
turf
the-
was so bad they had to like cancel the game.
Spray painted concrete.
Now hold on. So the parameters of this, you said if you could go to any event anywhere, right?
Yeah, any stadium you wanted to go to for like a certain game. Like I said, Michigan, Ohio State would be,
Yeah.
at Ohio State with that stadium with
At the
that
Shoe.
atmosphere. Yeah, that would probably be mine.
Well, I would say if you answered the question one way, that would be my one. But if I can have like free parameters, it's going to the Super Bowl in any stadium anywhere where the Browns are playing.
Oh yeah, that would be one too. But we know that's not going to happen.
Right. So that's why I said if we have free parameters or don't we? Because if it's realistic, I'll take the Buckeyes at the Shoe versus
you'd have-
Michigan. I've been there, but versus Michigan for sure. And then the other one would be if I could just have the Browns
You'd have
playing
better
anywhere in the
odds
Super Bowl.
at Iowa winning a Big Ten championship in Indy.
Wow. That's harsh, man. It's going to happen.
Dang.
It's going to happen.
I don't know.
messed
It's
up.
all these new teams running in here now. All right, how about you, Mike? What last one? What would be yours?
I still just think I'm a generic. I'm a basic. I just want to see the Eagles play at the Link. I want a home game there. I want to go have a cheesesteak. I want to boo and yell and scream and throw fucking snowballs at 49ers fans or whoever the fuck's there.
Eagles Cowboys or Eagles Giants or somebody else?
Eagles Cowboys would be good, but the 49ers is becoming a pretty fast rivalry. Like
Yeah.
it's just something about me. Like I don't know, you guys haven't had to deal with this, but 49ers fans are fast becoming the most annoying fucking fan base I think I've ever had to experience. I just hate them so much.
Well, we have a good meme for them with our Bang Bang Niner gang.
We do. And these fucking guys come out of the woodwork, right? Like you haven't heard about them for years, and all of a sudden now they're back.
Yeah. Oh, I was
Since
a
Rice
Joe
and Young.
Montana fan. Yeah.
Yeah, sure you were. You're kind of like Warriors fans. All the Golden State Warriors fans that popped up. Yeah, we know what's up. Fuckers.
Yeah, I like Alabama, the Yankees, the Lakers, and the Warriors. Those are my teams, man.
This is why I can at least I don't like Dallas, but I can appreciate their fans
Cowboys,
because
too.
every year the Cowboys are like, this is our year, and it's never their year, but they're consistent, right? Like Cowboys fans, they don't pop out of the woodwork. There's fucking people like I've always been a Niners fan. Since when?
Yeah.
Since when?
Right.
You lying. I know you lying.
That's cap.
Man. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode, guys. Appreciate you guys joining us along America's favorite game, but those are always fun. Enjoy them. At Eric Vanek NFL, you can follow me there. At America's Game Pod. At South Harmon FF on Twitter and YouTube. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe, all that on there as well. Start Sit Show, us three, every Sunday. Make sure you guys join that too. Noon Eastern. Help you guys make your playoffs. And Adam and Mike, whatever you guys got. Anything?
They ain't got much, man. The warp tool. You need to get it.
Oh, yeah, Warp Tool.
Last couple of weeks, it's going to come in handy. Go get that warp tool. Right?
Absolutely.
I'm not plugging anything other than you guys go fix your own teams. All right, we got all these injuries. You got a week left. Less than it's Thursday. You got till probably Sunday on these deadlines. So
Yeah,
get
don't
it
message
done.
Mike Sunday morning. He ain't answering.
Yeah, I got some of my supposed friends like hitting me up. Quarter 3. Like, hey, my deadline is at the end of this game. Help me get a deal done. Well, the talks aren't even really started. Like, bro, you what do you want me to do? The impossible here? Come on.
Yeah.
Get it done now. Get it done now.
All right. Well, that is it for this one. We will see you guys next week for episode 20. Have a good one. Good luck. Hopefully you make the playoffs. Unless you're playing Mike. Because Mike would say go fuck yourself.
Exactly.